Illumination series as well as the Ambani Chronicles, and I am joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
He is the creator of Eve of Insurrection and Eve of Reclamation. He's also the graphic artist on the Ancient Illumination graphic novel as well as the Ambani Chronicles comics, and he also illustrated Errol J. Knight's Jericho's Bane. Today, we are still on Willow, episode 5, I believe, Wildwood is what we're discussing.
It was wild.
This was kind of a mixed bag for me because this was
Yeah.
kind of a severe detour. Spoiler alert if for you all out there who haven't watched the show streaming right now on Disney Plus, but it basically takes off after the film from '88, and like I said, we're on the 5th episode. We just left Nockmaar Castle. They escaped out of there, and Elora actually heals Graydon of his, I guess, possession. He was possessed, I guess. So that they get healed and they leave. And as we were discussing last episode, I knew that any chance at true romance between him and Elora were probably done because she was giving him the side eye even then when he was kind of happy to be free and normal again. And he kind of looks back and smiles at her, and you can see she doesn't return the sentiment, even just with her eyes, the way she's looking at him, she almost seemed like disgusted with him.
Yeah, and she's consistent throughout that episode with that. I'm like, oh, she knows something because she knows the truth.
And they seem to be kind of wandering, and this is why I say this episode was kind of this was a side mission basically, and it was more, to me anyway, more character development for Jay than anything else.
Yes, and more backstory with Boorman.
A little bit, yeah, but he's kind of always in the background, and they're just dropping more and more nuggets about him because they hinted at his relation to basically they leave the castle, just for context of where we're going, and they end up running into the Wildwood, and they get trapped basically by the Bone Reapers. They were like wandering, weren't they? Just kind of meandering through it.
Yeah.
And just walking around aimlessly, they split up into like mini groups that were discussing things separately amongst themselves as they trudged through, and they come to kind of this small copse of trees, and suddenly Boorman notices these skulls on the ground, or this jawbone, and he's like, no matter what happens, remember, I've got a plan. And this is
got a plan.
They pop up out the ground and surround them. So yeah, they're surrounded by these Bone Reapers, which we've been hearing about them, and we knew he kind of had a relationship with the Bone Reapers. I think was it the first or second episode where they're running out?
First episode.
Yeah, and they're on horseback, and one of them like pulls up alongside of Boorman and immediately recognizes him. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and he knocks him off the horse.
Yep.
He tries to ignore it, hoping no one else heard. But obviously, he has some association with them, which I'm guessing we're going to learn more about as we go. And they're surrounded, and everybody's basically put in separate places, and Jade is like bucking up real hard the whole time. She's ready to fight everybody.
It's like, where is this coming from, Jade? Like, Jade was cool. I actually liked Jade this episode. I was like, oh, okay, you're doing something. This is interesting.
Well, she's always kind of. We knew she had hands, and then
yes, we do know she has hands. Yeah.
We find out that she's been holding back the whole time with training with Kit, and she was basically about to become a knight of something because that's what she was training for with Valentine. So yeah, they end up getting trapped, and the leader of the Bone Reapers like, send her to my quarters. Like basically she's gonna be fun, and everybody goes to their little chambers wherever they're getting, held.
Scorpia, I think was her name.
Scorpia, right? Yeah,
Scorpia. Scorpia.
Yeah. So this was, I did like this episode, but I did feel like this was almost filler. This was side quest because we're done right now with the main quest. We're not even. We're tabling that right now in this whole episode.
Yeah, it was like we're not going to go worry about Eric. We're going to go off into the Wildwood.
Which
like,
is
what?
Interesting because that was like the last thing we saw at the very end of episode 4 was him like waking up and his cell door being open, him just walking out in this like desert keep. And then we have this episode, they're like, don't even worry about that. We'll come back.
That's like one of my problems with this show was like the pacing or like the pacing of things is weird. Like, why would you choose this episode of all episodes to do this?
Yeah.
And then like we're always being kind of like we're always hopping between these kind of like genres, like the comedy, horror, and weirdly enough, I don't know. So I feel like today, this episode, when I watched it today, I was like, you know what? Andre and Rod were right. This is a parody.
Yeah, this is a parody. Back to that.
Like it went back to, and then that's when I realized like this episode is, in my opinion, what should like this should be the continuous thread between them all. Like I feel like every episode needs to be kind of like this, or most of them, because it was so just like tongue in cheek and jarring and ridiculous in places. Yeah. And that's what makes the show likable. Like that's the best part of the show. So like when we're watching Borman telling Scorpio a story, and he's like cutting to these kind of like him under a waterfall, kind of like, you know, being very attractive and macho, and like these funny moments.
That was so stupid.
Like it was so ridiculous. I'm like, what's going on? Like that's when I was like, yeah, this, like, once again, it's like another element that like if they're really focused on this and like really like for instance, we're watching Vox Machina, like that animation, like they're consistently keeping up with this kind of same theme or genre, and we're really gonna parody it, but like I feel like we're constantly it's up and down, hot and cold. We're on a horror episode and it's just but this episode was all right. You know, I mean, it was better, but I kind of wish I kind of wished it was kind of put like it needed to be somewhere else, because it's not fair that you show us Eric and then we're not going to focus on that.
And you're right, there are starts and stops where it tries to be one thing, then it tries to be another, so you never know like where it's going to land. And then once you settle in and say, okay, this is what we're doing, as soon as you feel that way, it like switches up again.
So yeah, the next episode is a whole nother different fantasy genre. Like, God, keep doing this to us.
Because sometimes it seems like it's almost being a parody by trying to take itself too seriously at times. Especially when I hear Willow start to talking, and it's like, okay, he's I can't tell whether he's being sarcastic or he's really serious about what he's saying right now, because it sounds ridiculous and it looks ridiculous. Funny, ironic coming from that we're watching an actual fantasy show, so half of it's going to be ridiculous anyway. But for the purposes of watching and really ingesting the entertainment and following along, it can be kind of jarring when they switch up like that. But yeah, they're all captured, and like you mentioned, Scorpia is asking, like she wants to know how Borman escaped, how he ended up alive, and he's, I believe, purposefully embellishing the story. And then you're right, when he starts talking about after he escaped, like was he in like a vat of poop? Is that what that vat?
That's what that looked like. I was like,
because he looked like
that probably don't smell good.
His head out, he's like he's about to throw up, but he's about to so he has to dive back in. So that explains why he needed like a shower, and he needed to be thoroughly washed right after. Then it looks like a Prel damn shampoo commercial after he flips his hair back in the water. I'm like, this boy is silly.
And then this man's at the bar drinking it up with the ladies, the barmaids. Like this man's just having a good time, but telling the complete opposite.
Yeah. That's probably what really was going on when he was at the bar yucking it up and drinking. But he's talking about he's doing all this heroic stuff to her to escape. And then we see the brownies finally, or one of them, and his daughter.
Which was great.
But I was including this mainly because it was specifically just a member berry. Like he has no substance. He's not taking part in the real story. It's just a brief reunion of him being quirky and talking back and forth to Willow. And some of that quirkiness obviously has been passed down to his daughter. So that was kind of fun.
Who was his daughter wearing a graphic tee?
I don't know. No.
I was looking at it, I was like, what is she wearing? They both are wearing robes.
Yeah, he looked like he was in his
real comfortable. Like, what are y'all wearing?
Yeah, my boy came out, looked like he was in his pajamas. He even had a little nightcap on and everything. But the funny part was the exchange between her and Willow. And she was like, like, what am I supposed? All brownies know each other? He's like, do all the Nerwins know every single Nerwin in the world? What kind of basically calling him out on some kind of some low key bigoted stuff. And then, but it turns out the one that he's looking for is actually her dad, which was kind of funny because then she had nothing to say when he pops out the door like Willow. She's like, you actually know this fool, so it wasn't, as he wasn't wrong. Willow wasn't wrong in asking because obviously, perhaps that wasn't the same. I don't remember them going to the Wildwood before in that specific area, but it could have been one of the spots of when they originally.
You talking about the first movie?
In the movie,
when they snatched
Laura and they followed them in there, maybe that was the area, was the Wildwood where they.
Yeah.
Then again, they're beyond the barrier, so I'm assuming they're out of the places that we would have been prior in the film. Now, I think they're away. They're Nakmar was one of the places.
Right, we got there. The movie had to have started in the Wildwood. I mean, like we'd have to infer that. We'd have to go back and watch, or I need the director to tell me, be like, yeah, this first scene where we actually see Laura get kidnapped was maybe in the Wildwood or something. But,
yeah, and she was taken. I think she's taken from the lady from the castle, and then the lady in the at the castle brings her out and then puts her on that little boat on the river, and that's how she floats into Willow's kids find her floating on the river. So I'm assuming from the conversations we hear the characters throughout these shows, they make it seem like this is further than any of them have ever been. Like they're beyond the barrier, they're beyond. And I guess this Immemorial City, or wherever they're trying to go to, is another place that no one has been to. At least in that group hasn't been there yet. So yeah, they're in the Wildwood, and they all simultaneously, kind of weird, like they all simultaneously like escape, except for who's the last to escape of this group?
I remember Laura got the wand. She blew up their little thing. Where was Graydon?
He was with Willow.
Oh, okay. So he was with. Oh yeah, they were having that goofy conversation.
And Borman is talking. He's at first talking with Scorpion.
Borman, I guess technically Borman would have been the last to escape because remember they hear that commotion. He kind of.
Yeah, because I remember when they escape, they walk out and think everybody's fighting, and they end up partying. And he's like, Willow had that weird thing like, oh, I have come to the conclusion that the reason that they're not turning around because no one cares about us. Like, no one cares about you. You know, you're not a threat. Neither of y'all. So they're just doing what they do.
No, not at all.
But yeah, this was a side quest, and that was the only thing that I was kind of disappointed with. Is that it didn't add anything. And this is the 5th episode, which I think we've discussed. We're only getting 8 episodes, correct?
Right. Like, get to it.
We haven't progressed any in episode 5. That means you got to get moving come episode 6, because like you said, it kind of throws the pacing off when we're going off track on this one thing, when I think they could have just mentioned the pertinent parts of this episode that have like real meaning to the rest of the story. They could have mentioned these things to us and then moved on. But it does kind of fit in, ironically, especially given the experience we have in Whispers of Nakmar, episode 4. We find out who exactly Jade is, and more importantly, who her father is. And so that adds a new twist on a lot of things. Given how she grew up and where she grew up, and how she thinks, like her perspective, because this whole time she thinks that her whole family was killed going to the mother's gates of something. I forget where it is. And she was basically, in her mind, she was rescued by Sorsha and the people of that kingdom. And so she has a whole different perspective on what's going on, which I don't know how she doesn't react more vehemently than she does. She's kind of laid back after.
Yeah, I would be mad at. I feel like she should have been a little more mad at Kid or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, your mama lied, practically kidnapped.
Yeah, she lied.
Would she have technically been some form of like a prisoner of war, maybe, or something in that capacity?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little dicey.
Yeah.
Should have been madder, Jade.
I mean, when
She
you
had
think
more
of,
smoke for Scorpia.
yeah,
She had way
She
more
with
smoke.
Scorpio.
Oh yeah, that was also pretty interesting. So I kind of want to talk about that fight between Scorpia and Jade. So after they broke out, how did they ended up getting to some sort of tussle?
Yeah,
Oh, didn't Scorpia
she
have somebody
slips out.
hostage?
Yeah, they had him on. I'm thinking that might be a hostage. I was thinking of feudal times when I messaged hostage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she tries to take her hostage. She tries to take Scorpia hostage, and Scorpia's like, "All right, you want to do this? I'm ready for you." And then she reverses the. She
Yeah,
tried to come. She does the old like. Uh, I want to say stereotypical move where you put a knife to someone's neck and then everybody back up. She pulls put the guns down. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And old girl's like, okay. And then she reverses it, slams her on the ground. And then it's kind of weird, but everybody just kind of stands back and lets
They're
them.
like, oh. And I was like, how is Jade fighting a grown woman right now? I was like, how's Jade? Jade's not gonna win this. This can't happen.
Yeah, they were going at it. And they stopped awkwardly to me.
Mm.
She notices when she gets her down on the ground
The
and she's
mark.
acting like she's about to stab her in the back of the neck, and she sees the mark on the back of her neck, and then she says, "Where did you get this?" She just stops all of a sudden, like fight's over, bam, and I understand why Scorpia would stop. I don't understand why Jade would suddenly stop.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That would have lended a more level of realism if like Jade is still struggling.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
still wants to go. She doesn't know what you just kind of.
She doesn't know what you know. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And you haven't communicated it yet. You haven't said it. You just all of a sudden stop. We're in the middle of a fight, and you have me dead to rights on the ground, and then suddenly you get up. And because she doesn't say anything right then. She just gets
She just
up.
has a reaction. You just
And then
notice something.
she has a reaction to seeing the mark on her neck, and then she says, "Take her to my tent." And then that's the end of it. And everybody's like, "Well, okay,
Whoa.
I'm gonna go to your tent. I guess we're gonna talk it out now." Like that didn't seem real to me in that moment. I think if one person got the better of the other, and you give them a chance to get back in the fight, they're gonna want to keep fighting.
Mm.
They're not gonna want, or maybe I don't see her as a punk character.
Jade.
Yeah, I don't see her as the type to be like, "Well, you got me. You got the better of me, so okay, I guess that's that."
Mm.
She's a warrior trained to be a knight, trained to get down. She's gonna want to get that other opportunity to best you. I mean, because they've trained to fight for however many years with the castle. She's been holding back with Kit, but obviously, I think with Valentine, when they were training, they were probably training for real because, like she told Kit, I never expected you to have to fight for your life, but I'm assuming she's just, she has the mindset that eventually I'm going to have to fight for my life for real. So when I train with these other folks, we're going to get down for real. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the revelation that Jade gets from Scorpio.
Yep.
Yeah. Talk to you in a second. Welcome back to the second half of the Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
And we are continuing our talk on Willow, episode 5, Wildwood, streaming now on Disney+. Now, contextually, because we had the fight between Scorpia and Jade. They tussle back and forth, trading blows back and forth and repositioning. Almost kind of like an MMA fight where you get like the ankle lock and he reverses it. And then, back and forth, they're hitting each other and they're hip tossing each other, all these stuff. And then finally she gets her on the ground, face down on the ground, and has a knife that she had got off the ground that I think Jade dropped. And she's about to stab down on the back of her neck. And when she looks at the back of her neck, she sees like some brand in her skin. And immediately reacts like, yo, what's up with this? And we find out when they show her later in the tent with Scorpia, she's like, what do you know about that mark? And she's like, I don't know, it's just always been there. And then she drops a bomb on her. That's the mark, General Kale.
General Kale?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
paid
I don't like
yeah.
General Kale. And then I remembered it from the movie. General Kale was like the general of Bathmorda's army. That had the skull helmet on. He's the only one that wore that skull helmet. So now we have, I guess, his lineage is also gone through with the Bone Reavers, who found it intimidating to pick up men's skulls to wear as masks to scare off other people. It's not only just the Bone Reavers, but it seemed because when she made her announcement as saying that Jade was her sister, she calls out all the like displaced armies or peoples that were displaced after Sorceress and Mad Mortigan kind of took over that area. All the people that they were fighting kind of disbanded and formed this like group, and they're the Bone Reavers. And I believe in episode 4, correct me if I'm wrong, General Kale is the ghost that Jade is fighting in the castle.
Yes.
So that was kind of weird. She has that kind of vision where she sees her mother laying there on the ground. You remember that part?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's fighting through the castle, and it's General Kale. And I was like, "What? Where is this coming from? That's his daughter?" And
apparently, we now know he had 15. He had 15 kids.
Yeah,
he had all the kids. So I was like, what?
He was the Nick Cannon of that world.
Oh, got me to it. Yes, he was a Nick Cannon of that world. He had a bunch of kids.
And apparently he branded all his kids, so he know who they
were.
That's
why he did.
Yeah, and then Scorpion's like, we're the last two. We're the only two that survived. So I think that's kind of ironic because you think Bathmorda was looking for this one child with a mark on her arm that was destined to overthrow her and become the true empress. She's running off just killing every baby in the kingdom, and now they've done flipped it, and all of General Kale's kids have been killed except for these last two daughters. We find out that Jade is Scorpia's sister. She seems to be happy in this revelation. And then once Kit and Elora escape, instead of finding her fighting, she's sitting, this little ceremony. She's sitting, got her hair kind of froed out at the top, and then side. She's getting a little, getting her sister done did her hair. She got different little outfits on. Borman's got a new little fit on. He's had a
flash mob dance going on. I was like, what's going on? It's a party now.
What is going on here? What is this episode?
What is this episode?
Yeah,
that is a good question. What is this episode? Right.
We get the nothing burger with the brownie because he basically gives them some map on a leaf that looks like, to me, neither of them could read that. It was so small. Like, if you turn, you look at this, you find the mountains. Neither of them, they're squinting at it. Like, it's too small.
All right, we big people.
On. And then stuff starts going down when they escape. And they're running around thinking they're about to. It's kind of funny. They're looking on a stealth mission, and no one's really paying them any attention.
Yeah.
Like I'm expecting them to sneak up behind, like in a video game, and hit triangle.
Yeah.
And they're realizing that no one's paying them any attention, and everybody is partying in the Wildwood. We don't know this yet, but they're all on like these psychedelic.
Truth love drugs.
Truth plum.
Yeah.
You take this plum. Bloop, drink like a shot of that, and you're compelled to tell the truth. And I think that was the worst thing that could have happened for some of them.
We want to talk about what Willow's truth. I was like, this is another great moment in this episode. Finally, let's do it.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and explain that? What happens with Willow?
So Willow finally confesses what we all joked about him not being. Not being that great. I was like, finally, bro. And he said, confess at the grating. And then I think Elora also overheard it, which
she at the end.
She heard the way he said it.
Yeah, he's explaining it to Graydon when he's like, yeah, because Graydon's still bigging him up. Like, no, but you defeated Bathmorda. You did this, and you went on. I've read about all your adventures. And Willow just looks him in the face he's like, come here, let me tell you something. Shit, it was dumb luck. That's what he said. Good luck. And then he expounds upon that idea. And right about the time where Elora comes around the corner from behind a tree is when he calls himself a hack. Basically calls himself a fraud. And she hears that. And then feet don't fail me now. She runs away from him. And he tries to, no, wait, let me explain. And of course, he don't get to explain. And I'll be surprised. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds in the next episodes because she was already half-assed not listening to him before. Like, you need to give me the wand.
She was going hard with the wand this episode. He was
like, nah, give me the wand back. And she's like, oh, you're such a dad.
Let me mix this soup. Let me mix this soup with turmeric.
Yeah, it's become an all-purpose tool.
Cumin. Let me mix this on up and use the wand. He's looking at her like, what you doing that? What you doing with using that wand for in that manner?
Oh, not with that rag. Oh, that's my party rag. It's fine. I forget what homeboy's name was. He had like some tough name, and he's got
Lori. You mean Toth or something? But his real name, his first name was
Lori.
Lori.
His real name, so he can call me Lori. So yeah, he's a fraud, and he knows he's a fraud. It's weird after all this time because he put up such a fuss with Sorsha. Because Sorsha, we had that flashback to him and Sorsha getting into it when she basically disrespected him. Like, what you finna do? You finna do your disappearing pig trick? Get up out of here with that. Get away from me, kid. You bother me. Talk about you finna do something. Out of here. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how their dynamic changes because now it's almost like he's going to have to pass the books off, which is to Graydon, but we know that
right because he can read all the information.
He's the bookworm. He seems to have more of a working knowledge of all the things. He was trying to coach her on the pronunciations of the spells before. But the problem there is we know that she don't trust him because after the truth plums, she comes clean with him too. Like, yo, I know what you did. I saw you kill your brother. And he was like, I was possessed. And he's like, oh. That's mighty convenient. Once again, huh? That wasn't you that tried to send me to another realm, and that wasn't you that killed your brother. It's like every time you do something bad, you got some like magical excuse of why.
It would be interesting if he actually that comes back to kind of bite us in the ass with the story where he actually is some like demon or something. I would be like, wow, y'all went there with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna go that deep with it, but
I don't think they would either.
Yeah,
he shaved his face and he likes her too much.
And that's the weirdest thing too.
My man shaved his face, look more like Eric. Like, bro,
why are they writing this where obviously the relationship isn't going to work or it shouldn't work?
Exactly.
I mean, there's scenarios where something happened and maybe Eric is not who she truly believes him to be in the end, and maybe it work out with him and Graydon. But as set up, even still, Graydon's betrothed to Kit, and Eric supposedly wants to be with Elora. Willow basically tells Graydon when they were locked up together that you can't even think of her in those terms. Like, she's the Empress, she's the one that's supposed to defeat this ancient evil. And so that should be her main focus. All this love stuff and relationship stuff. It was hilarious when Borman trying to teach Graydon some game. That was just so stupid. Because I think Borman is just he's charming in and of himself, but I don't think it's anything you can necessarily teach to anyone. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yes.
Like some people have game when they have the gift of gab and they can talk, they can sell you stuff, they can they can do their thing. They can maneuver verbally between different conversations and get people, can kind of entice people. Borman doesn't necessarily seem, there's something about him. And he may just be joking. He's just the funny dude that can talk to your girl, and because he's funny, that's his end. And that's not necessarily something that you can emulate if you're not already have some of that talent within you. Graydon ain't got no game.
Yeah, Graydon's already awkward. He messed up. Awkward. That was funny when when the other Bone Reavers was like, what girls like guys with, what did they say guys with beards have girlfriends or something?
Yeah.
I'm like,
he doesn't have a beard. He's like, he doesn't have a girlfriend. I wish you were doing this for a girl. I wish you would have told me that before.
Just left a beard, bro.
Yeah, they then shaved his face. He's got the little head wrap on, looking like a glowworm. Yeah, he's trying a thing, and it ends up being like the wrong thing. But I don't know that there's a right thing really with him and Elora, because there's so much complication.
It shouldn't happen.
It doesn't need to happen. And before you even get to that, the relationships that were already established prior to them going off on this quest. And I think all of us were talking about that a couple episodes ago how they were trying to build this tension between Alora and Graydon, and it's like, but this can't hold true. This can't work out. So why are they pushing this line, other than to create drama? And
yeah, did you hear what she said when she was talking about exercising the demon? And she said kiss. She was about to say the word
say
kiss,
yes,
and I'm like, why you say that? I was like, why she say that? Like,
because it was the closest thing.
It was a close to a kiss, but
She don't want to say I sucked the demon up out you. That would have been an awkward.
It was like it's whatever way you spin it, it's not gonna go well.
Yeah, it's not gonna sound right. He might, and if he'd have said that, he'd have been like, "Oh yeah, well,
He's like, really now? Really now?
So yeah, it's gonna be weird to see how they grow. Kit professes her love for Jade.
Yep. Yeah, this scene was not what I was expecting it to be, but yeah.
Yeah, she professes her love. Kit professes her love, and basically, she's going to do. And it's kind of bad too,
by the way.
She shirks her. She basically says, "I'm about to shirk my responsibility to the kingdom." Bottom line.
She's like, "I'm throwing away everything for you."
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, Kit. Wow.
Which has always been the problem. And the funny thing is what she's always blamed Eric for. Like, you're never going to be here. You're going to be gone. You're not going to stay. You're not taking any of this seriously. And the very one that's doing that exact same thing right now is Kit. And before Eric got kidnapped, she was doing it then. Remember, she was going to run away. Yeah. So it's going to be awkward. And we see how duty-bound Jade can be. She was going to go off to be this knight. She's having to kill her mentor, who probably in reality was probably her kidnapper, Valentine, because she thinks he rescued her. So I think, is going to be more duty-bound to the Bone Reavers now.
The Scorpio, yeah. I mean, Anna's her sister. Come on now.
She's found a blood tie. She's found a strong blood tie in all of this, and that's going to be where her responsibilities lie. So are you going to leave the kingdom for me and the Bone Reavers? Like, whatever. She's like,
that'd be hilarious.
Whatever.
I'll do whatever you want. My Black Queen, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Do we know if we're getting another season?
I hope not. It never crossed my mind. Please, this show needs to end on these 8 episodes. I feel like Andrea was right. This should have been shorter, because I think, like, when you were talking earlier about like this really feel like a filler episode, I'm like, you see, this is why this should have been a shorter season. You're like you're wasting pivotal time. You're not really pushing the story forward.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, but I mean, it was a cool episode.
Yeah, I was trying to explain. I was trying to explain to the wife what a side mission was in the video game. That's what this felt like. I'm like, when you play stuff like Assassin's Creed or like first, single player games, and they're like, go collect 100 feathers, and throughout the city.
Help that guy down the street.
This felt like it was one of them feathers. Like,
yeah, it was.
Stopping off to get a feather, and then after you get them 100 feathers, you come back and you get like a hat or something. But it didn't.
The hat was Scorpio and Jade's revelation. That was what we got out of the episode. And then that
conclusions.
Right. But then what surprised me is I was expecting us to get as Kit and Jade are confessing their love for each other. I was like, all right, they're finally gonna get to do their kiss thing. And of course, I was like hoping it was going to be like something comedic to break it. Yeah. Usually that happens. But then Kit gets snatched up.
Yeah. And this is the second time it's happened.
Are you talking about to the entire party? Like,
no, to Kit specifically. Remember, they were about to kiss when she jumped on the bed and
something keeps interrupting. Yeah, something keeps interrupting.
When she was about to tell her, come with me. And then that's when Eric got snatched.
The stuff popped off outside the castle. So yes, this keeps happening. I don't know.
You think this is a Disney thing? No, I'm being serious. Like,
wait, do they like intentionally not want to show like two lesbians kissing?
Yeah.
That's. I mean, Disney.
I mean, they curtailed the violence. You know what I mean? You don't really see the blood, and then there's no real kiss between the two characters.
I thought Disney would go for it. I mean, but yes, this is the second time they did that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Disney, stop it. Just show this queer romance and let's let it be out there. So then Kit gets kidnapped by some trolls. I thought they were monkeys, bro. I thought they were
the like what monkeys?
I thought there was some weird flying monkeys. Like, oh, they're trolls. Somebody said trolls are around. I was like, oh,
trolls. Snap. Yeah, they look like orcs to me for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, what is
the
happening?
bottom rung of the orcs from Lord of the Rings, like the bottom ones, the lower two.
The lowly orcs.
Yeah, not the orc kind, but the little trolls. Not trolls, but the little orcs that get whooped up all the time. Yeah, they snatched them up, and everybody's like. They stopped partying. Everybody's probably still high.
Yeah, that's wild. Everybody's high on truth, drugs, and happy, and then bad stuff happens. Kidnappings and murder.
Which is weird to me because in times of war and whatever society, you don't have sentries out, like keeping a perimeter. Like everybody can't party at the same time, bro. It's just you got to keep a lookout.
Correct. The trolls got the jump on them. Got
the jump on them bad. Well, man, appreciate you taking time out today to discuss this with me. Didn't have anybody on the live this time. That's okay. We'll catch you all next time. Description in the link of this podcast episode will have both my website and Jordan Spotify if you're interested in checking out any of our creative works. The podcast is available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and also don't forget to check out Trek and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast with Andrea Rose Washington and Monica Pinkett, available in the same places. And we will talk to you all next week.
Peace.
Peace.